Hey guys, today we're talking about tsunami. Maybe you call the plural group of tsunami waves tsunamis, or you use the collective singular tsunami. But whatever you call it, it's a big, scary wave. Let's talk about it. We'll be covering tsunami risk in California because, hey, we live in California. So I'll focus on local causes and how prepared we are for this kind of event. Tsunami literally means harbor wave in Japanese, but we now know it's caused by seismic activity, earthquakes. Here's a scary picture of one. Now, from the last unit, you know all about wavelength. Tsunami wavelengths are so long that when a tsunami hits, you may not even be able to see the next crest approaching. The wavelength could be hundreds and hundreds of feet long. Anything that disrupts the sea floor could cause a tsunami, an earthquake, a volcanic eruption, a massive undersea landslide, an asteroid. Notice that in deep water, the wave's not very tall. A boat out here would not even know a tsunami was passing. Everybody would be safe. Here, just like a regular wave, all of the energy is forced into less water, making the wave very tall. It breaks. This is an example of tsunami destruction. Notice that we could have this in California. People evaluated it, they wondered about it, the state made a commission, and yeah, parts of California are at risk. Let's talk about that. Let's talk, first of all, about us. Numero uno. What could cause a tsunami to hit Southern California? Well, believe it or not, distant earthquakes, far away, earthquakes in Japan, in Alaska, in Chile, these could cause a problem. Now, the closest portion of the Ring of Fire to you and me is something called the Cascadia subduction zone. That's where Washington State, Oregon State, Northern California, every place you can think of on the West Coast with a volcano that's active in the US, that's the Cascadia subduction zone. Subduction zones are capable of generating big earthquakes that disrupt the ocean floor in an up and down way. Transform faults, not such a big problem. We don't talk about the San Andreas fault when we talk about tsunami risk. We talk about subduction zones. But what about our local underwater hazards, including faults? Well, we'll get to that in the next few slides. Here's that good old Ring of Fire. All subduction zones mostly. And you can see some historic tsunamis, one in Chile, one in Alaska, that in the last century were caused by earthquakes on the Ring of Fire. And if there's a big earthquake on the Ring of Fire, every country on the Pacific Ocean could potentially feel the tsunami. An earthquake here creates a tsunami that is felt everywhere. Now, if the earthquake is here, the tsunami will be worse close to the earthquake. By the time that tsunami wave gets to LA, it'll be small, but big enough to break some boats and things like that. The Cascadia subduction zone starts in Northern California and goes all the way up into Canada. You might remember the Juan de Fuca plate from Plate Tectonics chapter. This is where the subduction zone is, this line here. And south of the subduction zone, we have a different kind of fault. The San Andreas fault moves side to side. It's transform. That means it doesn't push seawater up and down. It doesn't cause tsunami. This one does. Now, an earthquake here within 8 hours could cross the ocean. What about local hazards? Maybe some landslides that could cause small tsunami to hit us. Let's focus on our own coast in LA, Point Dume in Malibu, Redondo Canyon in the South Bay, Palos Verdes Canyon in PV. Everything in a circle that you see is a place that could have a landslide underwater, and that would cause a tsunami that would flood all the places in this red sort of terracotta color here. Notice these are low-lying places. Long Beach, Sunset Beach, San Pedro below Gaffey, Marina del Rey. In the South Bay, unless you're actually at the beach, you're okay because there's a big hill right next to the beach. Maybe you've driven down it or run on it for cardio. That protects us. The wave can only go in where the land is flat. It doesn't climb hills. That's why PV is not at tsunami risk. Same with Catalina Island. Notice on Catalina Island we have some faults. A fault shakes the earth, and that can cause a landslide too. In general, I think of Catalina Island as a protective older brother or older sister. Usually, it protects Los Angeles from tsunami. A tsunami comes in from Japan, boom, hits Catalina. We're behind Catalina, we're protected. But if your older siblings were like mine, sometimes for no reason, they would pick on you. And if Catalina has an earthquake on the Catalina Fault, it could generate a landslide and cause a tsunami in these places. Catalina, it's a love-hate thing. This is a map that some students at USC made. They mapped all the low-lying places in LA that would get flooded during a tsunami. Everything between these two red lines. Now, I don't like this map, and it's not just because I went to UCLA. I think that the USC students shouldn't have used red lines on a red map to indicate danger. But if you squint, it's not so bad. So how prepared are we on the West Coast? How prepared are we in LA County? Chances are, much like me, you're not thinking about tsunami this week. We have other fish to fry. But let's talk about it anyway. Okay, who's in charge? NOAA. NOAA, like Noah's Ark. That's the federal government being cute. NOAA is to the ocean, like NASA is to space. They are both federal science agencies. National, Oceanographic, Atmospheric Administration. I'll tell you in a little bit on the next slide about their DART program, and we'll talk about the Tsunami Warning Center. Okay, if you follow NOAA's website, you can get notifications, even on your phone now, that tell you the most recent earthquake. Earthquakes happen all the time, you've probably noticed, and they will tell you if they think it will cause a tsunami. DART, Deep Ocean Assessment and Reporting of Tsunami. Every star you see here in this map is a special buoy. This is a buoy. It's floating in the ocean. And these special buoys collect earthquake data for warning purposes. Let me show you how it works. Here's the buoy. Here's a satellite in the sky. Here's a seismometer. Earthquake. The seafloor shakes, the seismometer figures that out. It sends that information to the buoy. The buoy tells the satellite. The satellite tells people. Okay, how prepared is LA County? Well, you can go to this website to find out about disaster plans in LA County, any kind of disaster. Oh, and by the way, they're not too worried about tsunami. Why? Because we live with a transform fault. Transform faults don't generate big tsunami. Now, the state did put out an official sign, and I want to mention to you that this guy, well, it didn't look like he was going to make it. So many complaint letters went to Sacramento that now we have a new sign where he's higher up the rock. Or people that were really worried about this little stick man will notice a third sign where he's gone. What happened to him? I'm afraid to ask. But you will see these signs right on the bike path in El Porto, along the Strand in general, come to think of it. Whenever you see one, I like to say, "Did he make it?" So check out this little guy. You'll notice he moves up and down. Be safe, everybody. We'll talk next week.